Hello, welcome to our video. We've designed this video to explore why body image is a subject we should be thinking about and where the messages about our body come from. Perhaps, most importantly, what we can do to support our children and perhaps ourselves. Alongside this video, we've produced one for teachers and designed a video for young people too. And this will be delivered in schools to boys and girls in years 5 to 8.
When developing this video for parents and carers, we were thinking about those whose children are in years 5, 6, 7 and 8 and may see the video. We've shared some of the topics and strategies that we've shown the children and young people so that you can support them in what they've learned. However, having said that, the way we've presented and explained the support you can give to a child in your care means that you may find this video useful even if your child has not seen the film aimed at children and young people. Some of the things we'll be talking about will be things that anyone can do to support a child, even if you do not have parental responsibility, whether you're an uncle, an aunt, a grandparent, or another adult in a child's life. We would like to acknowledge that everyone who watches this video will have had different lived experiences around body image. Some of you may feel quite comfortable talking about this already, and for some of you it may feel quite uncomfortable. We suggest that you take your time. Pause the video if you want to, and watch it in manageable chunks. We all have busy lives, so taking 45 minutes out of your day may not be manageable in one go.
We've recorded this video in chapters, so hopefully you can come back to the section where you finished quite easily. The final chapter has some signposting information, so if you do feel like anything in this video raises something for you personally or for your child, then you can go back to this section to get further support. And now let us introduce ourselves. My name is Sarah Warne.
I'm Kate Patterson.
And I'm Steve Arthur Wallace.
We work for the mental health support team, and we work in schools and the community to support children with their well-being from an early intervention approach.
In this video, we'll be covering the following topics. What do we mean by body image concerns and the appearance ideal? Where does this perceived ideal come from? And how does this impact on our children and young people? We'll also be giving you some tips about what you can do and what can I say? And then finally, we'll be giving you some signposting where you can go for other support. Okay, so let's get started. We would like you to think about what springs to mind when you're asked these questions. What does the perfect woman look like? What does the perfect man look like? Have a think about this for a few moments. Maybe you're thinking of certain attributes a person could have. Maybe you have a picture in your head, and maybe you're thinking of a specific person or a few different people with certain features.
For women, you may have got tall, skinny, curvy, slim, toned, clear skin, shiny hair, big butt, perfect hair, beach hair, young, thigh gap, or many more.
So some of the things you might have come up with for men are tall, muscly, a six-pack, short hair or long hair, slender build, athletic build, clear skin, nice chin, maybe defined cheekbones. You may have had others, and when we ran this exercise with young people, they came up with similar ideas to the ones we've just listed. These ideas of what the perfect man or woman would look like are what is known as the appearance ideal.
The fact that we can ask this question, and many of us will have an image spring to mind, or a person, potentially of someone famous, suggests that there is an appearance ideal. The appearance ideal can be defined as the way society tells us is the ideal or best way for us to look at a certain point in time. As you likely noticed, the problem with the lists we made about the perfect man and the perfect woman is they're highly unrealistic and mostly unachievable. If we think about having to meet all of those standards at the same time, that is really difficult. And this can impact heavily on young people and adults' body image and self-esteem. If we drew these people, we're likely to come up with a woman who looks like Barbie or a man that looks like Ken. If you search, what would Barbie look like in real life, you can see this is highly unrealistic. It's important to challenge this unrealistic, idealistic image, as there is growing evidence that exposure to the appearance ideal can impact negatively on young people's mental health, and in some cases physical health. We're going to share some statistics with you now to show why it's important that we change the way we do things when we're thinking and talking about appearance. There are quite a lot of statistics in this section. We found them really interesting, and we hope you do too.
In 2020, a survey of 7,878 people run by the UK Government Women and Equality Committee found that 65% of under 18s thought that there was an ideal body type, compared with 45% of adults. Women, people with a disability, and transgender people were at higher risk of experiencing negative emotions around their appearance. But we know from experience working with young people that it's also a growing concern amongst boys and men. Having the thought that there is an appearance ideal can cause people, including children, to measure themselves against it, often unfavourably. If we're always trying to achieve something that's unrealistic and unobtainable, that's likely to impact on our mental health. We know from recent studies in Devon that body image concerns are impacting on young people's mental health and self-esteem from an early age. Some studies suggest that 52% of young people aged 11 to 16 often worry about how they look, with some reviews including examples as young as 3 to 4 years old. This recent study in Devon shows that just over 1 in every 10 boys and nearly 2 out of every 10 girls in years 4 and 6 said they feel quite unhappy or very unhappy with how they look, and this was highest in year 6 girls at 22%. For years 8 and 10, almost 2 out of every 10 boys and over 4 out of every 10 girls said how they feel about their body or appearance often or always negatively impacts their mood, and this was highest in year 10 girls at just over half reporting this. These worries can then affect us, and we can carry them through into adulthood.
The information in this next graph comes from a study of nearly 8,000 people undertaken by the UK government. The Women in Equality survey in 2020 had responses from many adults as well as some younger people. Now, as we can see, some people felt positively about their appearance in this survey, and we know that some young people do as well. There's also a lot of negative feelings around appearance expressed in this study, with anxiety and shame being cited in greater numbers than the positive emotions. The impact of these worries can be significant, not only on a person's self-esteem, but on their social interactions, their engagement with sport and other hobbies, their physical health, and their vulnerability to other mental health difficulties. The findings from this study, from the Mental Health Foundation, suggest that 1 in 10 boys and almost a third of girls avoid doing activities that could be healthy, such as physical exercise and sport, or activities that could be fun, such as social activities, both of which can have a positive impact on our well-being, because they are worried about the way they look. The statistics we've shared so far also show us that young children in years 4 and 6 are saying they feel unhappy with how they look, and secondary school children are saying that how they feel about their appearance negatively affects their mood.
Before we go any further and think about how we challenge it, we just wanted to have a look at where these messages are coming from. This is important as it may help us think about what we can do about the messages we receive. The message that there is an appearance ideal is pushed on us from a whole range of sources. As the Mental Health Foundation website states, these include a whole range of places such as social media, influencers, TV and films, advertising, the beauty and wellness industries, the diet industry, sports personalities, family members, friends, and other adults they interact with. We'd just like you to spend a minute thinking about where you've got messages about body image from. Perhaps think about how often you may hear these messages in your everyday life and where you hear these messages. Perhaps you remember a message that made you feel you should look a certain way. You may even remember the source of that message. For some of us, it may have become such a norm to hear these messages that we almost don't notice it. You could think about how many times you hear people in your life mentioning eating or exercise relating to get closer to the appearance ideal.
How does this ideal impact on children and young people? The next few slides show where children and young people report they get messages about how they should look. This survey was done by the Mental Health Foundation, and this slide shows the impact celebrities and TV shows have on young people's thoughts about their body image.
This slide shows the impact of social media.
This slide looked at the impact of bullying, with over half of young people aged 11 to 16 surveyed reported having experienced appearance-based bullying. These studies found that the largest influences on young people that affected how they felt about their appearance was friends and social media, both reported at 40%. Other external influences from the media, including TV, adverts, and celebrities, were commonly reported.
A fairly significant amount of young people said things they had heard their family say had caused them to worry about their appearance. This could be due to comments from family members commenting on a child's looks or appearance, but could also be things family members said about themselves or others in front of the child. Now that we know why this is a challenge for young people, let's take some time to think about how we can tackle it.
The good news is that there are things we can do as adults to support the children and young people in our lives, to make a difference. There is research that shows that children are more confident about their appearance if they rejected appearance-related ideals. These children also reported less body image concerns than children who believed they should look a certain way. In this section, we're going to think about things we can do to support our children and young people to challenge these beliefs and reject the idealistic appearance ideals. One of the main places that young people said they received messages about appearance ideals was media. We're sure you are more than aware of the difficulty in balancing the challenges and benefits of media, particularly social media. We're going to give you some information about the content your child may be viewing and the impact it may be having. With this information, you can make an informed decision about how best to manage this for your child. If a child is looking at beauty tips, even around hair and makeup, at clothes and fashion, at fitness content and workouts, including bulking and building muscle, and at social media influencers, they're probably watching videos that have been produced and edited, potentially even with a team of people editing them. This sort of content can often promote the appearance ideal. As we know, influencers are often paid to endorse products, so they have a vested interest to say how a product makes their skin glow or their body toned. And sometimes this message is encased in a health message, whilst not necessarily promoting healthy practices. In fact, research reported in the independent newspaper carried out by Australia's Flinders University researchers analysed 200 TikTok videos and found that 60% contained incorrect or harmful information about fitness and diet, and most influencers posting were not qualified fitness instructors. Alongside the content, there is growing research that shows part of the harm of social media is about the length of time that young people may spend on it. The more time that children and young people spend looking at these messages, the longer and stronger the message will be that this idealistic image is the ideal way to look, that this is the norm. So, how can we limit the impact that social media has on our young people's body image? We can limit social media and screen time. We understand that this can be difficult. And of course, what is suitable for one child may not be suitable for another, and you know your child best. Although it is difficult, having some boundaries around screen time and having open discussions about what your child is viewing online can support your child in being less exposed to these messages of an idealized body image. Many social media sites are rated as suitable for children who are 13 years of age or older. We are aware that there are many younger children who do use social media, so monitoring what and how much they are accessing can be even more important.
Another thing we can do is to encourage our children and young people to think critically. Critical thinking can help them not take messages they receive at face value, but to consider the bigger picture and analyse the messages they are receiving. We talk to young people about this in the video aimed at them, so they may know what you're talking about. When they're watching TV with you, or if you do allow them to watch social media content, then support your child to think critically. Critical thinking is a great skill and useful in many situations. You can support your child with critical thinking by asking questions and showing them how to do this. We're sure many of you do this already, as lots of children and young people are quite media savvy and aware. Reinforcing that message as they get older and are more exposed to messages can be helpful. Here are some of the questions that we've shared in the video for young people and that you could discuss with your child. Are the messages or images we see realistic? Even though we know that videos are edited and photoshopped, we don't always remember this or consider the full extent of how images are manipulated. Many covers of magazines and images and adverts are photoshopped. Legs can be lengthened, skin made to look different with no marks, images can be cropped to make them look slimmer or photoshopped to make muscles appear bigger. Encourage your child to remember this. Encourage your child to remember the image we see is not the real person, but a version of them, which are made for the purpose of fitting the ideal image as shown in these photos. Some phones and apps have AI technology, which mean people can do this at home on videos, so even photos and videos of friends may not be their true self. If you have very young children, we can also recognise that even images in cartoons and drawings are not reflective of how people look. The princess or heroine often has a very thin waist, and the prince or hero often has a big torso and muscly arms. Even from a young age, we can help our children recognise that these are drawings, and we can look out for cartoons and books that may provide a more representative view.
Does the picture or video we're looking at show us the whole picture or story? All fashion shoots and many people doing video reels for social media will have a team of people supporting them. They may have a makeup artist, professional lighting, will be flattering, and someone will be editing the photo or video to make it the best it can be. There's a really good example you can show your child on the Dove Campaign for Real Beauty website, which shows the steps of a photo shoot. At the end of this video, we've shared some more examples of this. Even when looking at photos of people we know, we might not get the whole story of how they took that photo. For example, how many takes or angles did they try? How long did they spend doing their makeup or choosing their outfit? And is the photo really representative of how they're feeling or of what else might have happened in their day?
Who is posting this content and why? Who makes money and benefits from it? If we can ask, is this media content telling me that there is something wrong with me, so it can then tell me how to fix it by buying something or doing something that might cost money? Who benefits financially from this? If it seems there's a motive for the content to make money, then it is good to think about how real the message is. These industries need us to believe we're lacking in some way physically. Otherwise, we wouldn't see any need to spend our hard-earned money on their products. So they work hard to convince us that we need to fix X, Y, or Z, or have a certain thing to be happy, or strong, or beautiful, or fulfilled. Here are some stats about money made from the fashion industry. There's a lot of money to be made in the beauty and fitness industry, as you can see in this slide.
Final question we're going to suggest to support critical thinking is this a reliable source of information? How qualified is the person to give me this information? We can support our children to explore this by being curious about what they're looking at, perhaps making some time to try and watch it with them. If they are watching content which could impact specifically on body image, like perhaps a fitness or dieting video, we could ask more specific questions, such as, who's posting this video? Are they qualified to give me this information? For example, are they a health professional or a qualified fitness instructor? What support do you think they had in shooting this video? Is the message they're giving us too good to be true? For example, it takes time to change your body's shape with exercise. A quick fix or fad training regime or diet might do more harm than good and is unlikely to create a lasting change or improvement. Do I have enough information to do this exercise safely? Are they giving proper guidance about how to do the exercise? Are they giving easier alternatives? Are they suggesting rest in between exercise? Are they promoting a product? Does this mean they're making money? Is what they are suggesting healthy? If they are suggesting cutting out food groups or restricting food intake to food groups, how does this compare with what I already know about healthy eating and a balanced diet? Where could I find out more information from a reliable source to check if this is accurate? Social media shorts or reels are by design short. Creators have a very limited amount of time to draw you in, to make you interested and listen to and understand their message. They don't necessarily have time to give alternative exercises if you have an injury, talk about warming up and cooling down, or talking about the diet in terms of a healthy, balanced diet.
Another thing we can do to support our children to reject appearance ideals is to try and be a role model with our behaviour. Let's remember the statistic from earlier that said 65% of under 18s reported that they thought there was an ideal body type. 45% of adults also thought this to be true. This means that perhaps just under half the people watching this video have also been subject to this message and subsequently felt pressured in some way to live up to this ideal. We can therefore support our children to make changes in how they relate to these messages by first reflecting on how we relate to them and the impact that it can have on us as adults. We can ask ourselves the following questions to see if we have heard the message that there is no appearance ideal and if this has had an impact on us. Can you remember a time when someone made a comment about your or their own appearance? How did this make you feel? Did you change your behaviour in any way? Might there be any times or situations in your day-to-day life where your comments about your own appearance could unintentionally send a message to the children around you that there is a right or better way to look? What about our behaviours, the things we choose to do or avoid doing due to concerns or insecurities about our body image? We thought about some examples from our own lives, for example, where we might have requested a friend to take several photos of us and then insisted they delete most of them because we look weird or gross or ugly. Or when we've insisted that we can't wear a certain outfit until we've lost a bit of weight or toned up our stomach or our arms. Do we avoid certain types of food altogether because they are bad foods or because we don't trust ourselves to eat them in moderation? Children soak up the information and messages that they hear around them, both via what we say and what we do. So one of the most powerful things we can do to support our own children's body image is to work on our own ability to challenge the messages we might have grown up with about the appearance ideal and improve our body image as adults.
In this video we've recorded for young people to watch, the first thing we ask them is to think about how amazing their bodies are. We do this by asking them, if you were a superhero, what powers would you like to have? Or, if an alien came to Earth, what things might they be able to do that we as humans would think were amazing? Or, what things might they do that they think are amazing? Most of the comments were superpowers about flying, teleporting, and levitating, not about how they look. We also asked young people what amazing things their bodies can do, and they came up with a huge list.
We can help our children and young people to appreciate and care for their bodies by shifting the focus from the appearance ideal to the healthy ideal. By that, we mean focusing on the things that make our body feel good and healthy and support our mental well-being too, instead of on what our body looks like. For example, we know that exercise is really good for both our physical and our mental health, so we can support our children to engage with this. However, instead of placing any importance on appearance, such as, I need to work out more to lose weight, we can place the emphasis on the healthy ideal, like, let's get our bodies moving to release some endorphins and boost our mood. We know that a balanced and varied diet makes a big difference to our health, but rather than labeling certain foods as bad or using phrases such as a moment on the lips, a lifetime on the hips, we can help our children learn about the different nutrients their bodies need to function well and support them to make healthy choices. We know that this shift can sometimes be challenging, as it often requires us to rethink a lot of the messages that we've heard from society for many years, but it can be a powerful tool to support the young people that we care about.
Challenging negative thoughts. One of the ways that we can help our children and ourselves to do this is by noticing and challenging our negative thoughts. We talk about this in the young people's video, so it is a skill that they might remember and which you can support them with. So what do we mean when we say challenge our thoughts? Often we have thoughts and the thoughts are not facts. If we think them and believe them, then our brain will interpret them as facts and they can affect how we feel. This slide shows a thought and a potential feeling that may arise from that thought. Lots of us have these thoughts. Many are related to feelings that we don't match up to an idealistic, often unobtainable appearance ideal. For some of us, the thought may be fleeting and not impact on us that much, but for some young people and adults, it will impact on our mood and on our behaviour. This can be when they stop doing things they enjoy, such as physical exercise or going out with friends. If we can help the young person recognise the thought, then we can help them work out if what they're thinking is a fact or just a thought by looking for the evidence for and against the thought. If it's not a fact, that means it can be changed and that we can reach a different verdict or outcome. We call this taking your thought to court. There are many different unhelpful thinking styles we have when we have a thought that is not a fact. It is just our opinion. We're now going to share some of them with you.
Black and white thinking. This is when we think something is all good or all bad with nothing in the middle. So for example, we might think we either look great or awful.
Discounting. This is when we only listen to evidence that backs our opinions. Perhaps one person said something mean to us and lots of people said it wasn't true or said something nice, but we think the person who said something nice don't count. We might think something like, oh, they're my friends or family, so they have to say nice things. Or they're just trying to make me feel better, or they feel sorry for me.
Making mountains out of molehills. This is when something small happens and we make it into a really big thing. So perhaps in terms of appearance, it might be that the top we wanted to wear isn't clean or it gets ripped, or we notice a small spot on our face. And it means that we can't go out now as we think everyone will notice it and it will ruin the whole night.
Mind reading. This is assuming we know what other people are thinking, normally assuming they're thinking something negative about us. This could be thoughts such as, they think I look ugly or fat, or my outfit's bad, even though we have no evidence for this.
Self-critical. This is being very critical of ourselves, normally much more than we would with anyone else. So if we're thinking about in terms of appearance, we might examine every aspect of our appearance in detail and forget that other people will probably be looking at us as a whole person, not our left eye, not our right eye, not the makeup that's there or the piece of clothing that we're wearing. People will be seeing us move around, laughing and talking, and not focusing on the details in the same way we might when we look in the mirror or when we look at a photo.
So how can we use this to help young people? Firstly, we can support them to think about whether their thought is a fact or just an opinion. Young people can often be convinced it is a fact because they think it is true, so we might have to explore this with them. Asking questions like, what do your friends say? What do other people say? Did that happen before? Let's ask other people in the family, and then coming up with some evidence that's an opinion is a good start. If one person has a different point of view, then it probably is an opinion. Then, if you can remember the unhelpful thinking styles, you can also search the internet for them, then you can ask a few more questions, such as, how do you know they're actually thinking those things? What evidence have you got that that thought is true? Having these conversations and asking your children these questions can help them recognise when a thought is just an opinion, not a fact, and then help them work out a more helpful or balanced way to look at the situation. As is often the case, these conversations will work better when the child or young person is not stressed, and it could be good to pick a time when you both have a bit of time to start these conversations. It's also important to think about focusing on personality, not just looks. In the children's video we've made, we asked young people to think about people who were special to them and what it was about this person that makes them special. When we ran this workshop in a classroom, no one came up with anything about the special person's appearance. It was all about how that person made them feel or kind things they did for them. Just for a minute, we'd like you to think about someone you care about. And if you were answering the question, what makes them special to you? What things do you think about? Proving that social media isn't all bad, we also wanted to share this part of a poem which was taken from social media. I hope you remember. I hope you remember. You will be remembered for the way that you are, not for the way that you look.
There are a couple more things we wanted to share with you that we told young people. One of these is about the power of praise. We can use praise to help us build young people's self-esteem. Research shows that difficulties with body image is closely linked to low self-esteem. Praise is most effective when we are praising effort. When we are praising children and young people, we can be careful to ensure that we're not praising them for things that are related to the idealistic view of appearance. We often praise children in different ways without thinking about it. If I said the words pretty, dainty and delicate, I wonder if you would think if I was talking about a girl or a boy. If we more regularly praise appearance, then children who often want to please may put more emphasis on their appearance than other aspects of their personality. The basis of how we look is not something we much have control over. How tall we are, our bone structure, the shape of our ears, nose and legs are predetermined by genetics. We can build a children's self-esteem by praising them more on what they do, things they have control over, and effort they have made. We can call all children brave for trying something new, strong for carrying something difficult, helpful, curious, adventurous, all of which do not require the child to look a certain way. We can praise them for trying to do difficult things and sticking to it, even if they don't succeed, as we're praising the action and the effort. Research shows that this is the most beneficial type of praise, especially when it is specific to an activity and something that you have seen the child do. Wow, thanks for carrying that drink into the kitchen. You were really careful, could be an example. This is not to say that we can't tell our children that they're beautiful or that they look nice. The tip is more about being aware of how often we do this and ensuring that we are complimenting our children more often on the things that we value about their personality or the effort they make. This can help build self-esteem and help young people put less importance on the appearance ideal.
Another way to support children and young people to build self-esteem is to help your child to recognise the strengths that they can see in themselves. In the video for children and young people, we asked them to do a task where they thought about the last week and write down the answers to the following questions. Something they had done that they'd been proud of, something that they had achieved, something they'd enjoyed, and something they did that was kind. These are the kinds of questions you can ask them too. Or you can tell them something that you have seen that you think they have done.
Another task on the video for young people is to practice giving and receiving a compliment. Some of you may be great at this already, but lots of people, when given a compliment, will to some extent deflect it. This can feel a bit difficult, so we're just going to show you what we mean. You worked really hard today, Sarah.
Well, I didn't really have a lot of choice.
Or it might sound something like this.
I've really enjoyed spending time with you, Kate.
Oh, sorry, I've been a bit of a bore. If these interactions sound familiar, then it might be worth trying receiving a compliment. We task the young people to accept a compliment by saying thank you. That's it, nothing else. It can feel strange at first, but think about it like receiving a gift. Most people, when receiving a gift, might say, "Thank you, I love it. I'll use it like this." That makes the gift giver feel good about the gift. Think of a compliment or praise as a gift. By deflecting it, you're maybe saying it's not a good compliment. By saying thank you, you're making the person giving you the compliment feel their compliment has been accepted.
In a conversation, it might sound like this.
You worked really hard today, Sarah.
Oh, thank you.
Or it could sound a little like this.
I've really enjoyed spending time with you today, Kate.
Thank you. That did actually make me feel better. If you feel like you want to, you could try doing this in the next week or so, both giving someone a compliment that is not appearance-based, and if you're given a compliment, try saying thank you and nothing else. If you don't normally do this, notice how it feels.
In summary, the things we have talked about today are some things we can all do so children are hearing less messages about an appearance ideal, are able to question it when they do hear it, and can build confidence in their body image and in themselves as a whole person. If we can role model these behaviours in front of children, we can send the message that their appearance ideal is not that important and we do not need to measure our worth against it. Role modelling can be hard work, as we have to start changing our language and behaviour, as well as opening up discussions about what we see on social media and other forms of media. But every little thing we can do can make a difference.
This change is not going to happen overnight, and to reduce the appearance ideal and the pressure it puts on young people is something that requires parents, schools, sports teams, community groups, celebrities, the media and the government to do their part. There are some positive changes that are happening with this, from body image being explored more within school curriculums, many activists, researchers and celebrities working to challenge unrealistic beauty standards or point out when their images have been edited, media and sports teams working to improve representation and promote inclusivity, and industry standards aimed at reducing harmful messages, such as a recent example in 2025, where 2 large clothes retailers had adverts banned by the Advertising Standards Authority due to their model appearing unhealthily thin. Both times, the ASA said it was the way the model was posed, clothed, and the angle that the photo was shot. So we want to recognise that it is part of a bigger picture, but the part you play as parents, carers, and trusted adults in a child's life is an important one, which can have a really positive impact for your child's well-being.
To recap, the ideas that we've discussed today that can help are building your own awareness of the appearance ideal and its impact on young people, limiting and monitoring social media, supporting critical thinking about messages our children see and hear, encouraging a focus on the healthy ideal instead of the appearance ideal, supporting children to challenge negative thoughts about their own bodies and their own body image, and using praise to place more value on other aspects of their personality, such as the effort they put in, the kindness they show, or the curiosity they approach things with, and less value on messages related to an idealistic appearance. Also, supporting children to engage with activities and with family and friends that make them feel good about themselves and allow them to recognise and build their strengths.
We hope that this video has been helpful for you and you found some of the tips we've shared useful. We would like to invite you to think now about one thing you've learned or which struck you as important or interesting whilst watching this video. We would also like you to decide on one thing that you can do in the next week because of this video. That might be simply to notice how many comments people make about appearance and body image in your day-to-day life and in the media that you see. It might be to try and change your language to reflect being healthy instead of appearance when thinking about what you eat or the exercise you do. Perhaps it's to watch some social media with your child and ask some questions if they're watching something that maintains that there is an ideal way to look. Or perhaps it could be to start saying thank you to compliments. Whatever you choose, it's a great step towards challenging and reducing the impact of the appearance ideal and helping your child to develop their self-esteem and to build a more positive body image. If you need more ideas, or if you already have concerns about your child's relationship with body image, you can come back to this video, or you might find some of the websites and other resources that we've shared useful. Thank you for listening.